All right, so the chances are, if you're watching this video, you've got a video game collection that's only going to grow. You're probably used to hearing words like backlog, holy grail, hidden gems, nostalgia, words like that will actually keep you distracted from the purpose of video games. I'm taking some time today to discuss the topic of video game collecting. This is a direct follow-up to my last year's video where I discussed the idea of hoarding versus curating your own video game collection. My name is Luke, but you can call me Critical Fish because that's what I go by on YouTube and on my video game systems. On top of playing video games, I really love to analyze what's going on in the industry and look at the hobby as critical as possible. I do a fair bit of collecting from time to time, mostly with my PlayStation collection and my Nintendo collection, but I make sure that I collect with intent and purpose. On the video that I brought you guys last year, it became a lot more popular than I expected and it resonated with a lot of people. So I'm here to bring part 2 to discuss the message from last video, understand your guys' opinions and comments, as well as discuss some new insights that I want to share regarding the idea of video game collecting as a whole. I'm also going to hold myself accountable and double check and confirm with you guys if I've followed my own philosophies on video game collecting. It's been almost a year since the last video, and I've definitely accumulated a few new items in the collection, but I've also sold quite a bit as well. So I'm going to do a deep dive into that towards the end of the video. So I really just want to make you zoom out on what the hobby is, why you're doing it in the first place, and maybe what you can change going forward. I also highly encourage you to share your own views and opinions on this topic in the comments below. I'm going to read every single one, and I'm definitely going to interact with you guys. So make sure you share your perspective in the comments after you've listened to my points. In last year's video, I had 3 main points that I wanted to discuss. The first one was that video games are experiences first and foremost. Whether it was you playing the video game, sitting couch co-op with a friend, playing online with someone else, looking at a YouTube video, seeing it for the first time, that is a unique experience that's going to stick with you. And that is the experience that should be carried on throughout any other changes that you have with the hobby. The second point in my last video was to be very intentional with your purchases. If video games or video game collecting, purchasing, stuff like that becomes your main hobby for a while, you should be very careful and have a clear goal when it comes to collecting. Otherwise, it might go overboard. And the third point was to keep the best of the best items within your collection. Anything else that you don't love really deserves to be in somebody else's hands, whether that's a shop or another person that wants it more than you. You should really just be keeping the stuff that you thoroughly enjoy. So the overarching message from last video was to keep it simple. You know, this is just a hobby at the end of the day. And if it's one of your favorite things, you should pay careful respect to whatever you're doing within the hobby. Whether you're actually sitting down playing the games, replaying them, trying to do the challenges, or you're buying more of the games, more of the systems, more of the merchandise, you should just respect whatever you're doing and be very intentional with how you approach it. I've seen it get out of control with a lot of other YouTubers on this platform where they showcase their entire gaming room. Maybe they have to sell it all one day because they go through something like a divorce or there's a big medical accident that happens. And, you know, there's the fun and there's the sad reality of it too. So my message was to keep you guys in check. You guys had some great comments though that pointed out some things that I might not have mentioned in the video. Some of you mentioned that it's taught you some practical skills where you can find or buy something and flip it for a higher price to actually make profit, which generally I think is a good thing. When it comes to video games though, this is a simple form of entertainment, and often the collectors and resellers are not seen as great people at a surface level. So my question is, would you be willing to learn that skill and use it in another form? Maybe use it for work or a business or a side hustle that doesn't involve video games? If that's the case, then I think it's a great thing. Some other people realized that they were collectors themselves, admitted it in the comments section, but then realized when the time came to play these games, they would actually not play them. This is kind of the sad reality of a lot of big mass collectors who like to buy collections or entire waves of games on a certain system. And they don't actually play the games, they just have them sit on the shelves. And then a lot of other people actually agreed with my philosophies and only collect the games that they know for a fact they're going to play in the short term, and also keep them for the long term. So overall, I'm glad that video resonated with a lot of you people, and hopefully you're back for part 2. Video games just become more popular, and there's always a retro craze, and it's always fun to look and hunt for items that you might not own or you might want to buy. So bringing this up again is pretty important to me, and I want to share and promote a good message for you guys. So let's get into the meat of this new video and share my new advice with you guys. The first point that I have is to not make collecting about the money. A lot of people mix this up and tend to get into the hobby because they think they can make a bunch of money doing it, which would then justify pretty much any purchase that they do at a video game store, on eBay, on Amazon, stuff like that. If you say that to yourself, you're pretty much allowing yourself to buy whatever you want with no boundaries, under the assumption that you're going to have it go up in value and that you're going to be able to sell it with no problems or time or changes in between. This is a pretty terrible mindset to get into, especially if you apply it only to video games. Now, in reality, flipping is a very normal thing. A lot of people do it with rentals, they'll do it with houses, they'll do it with cars, they'll do it with, a lot of different things. You can flip entire businesses if you're smart about it. But when it comes to something as simple as video games, you might buy something for $50 and flip it for 70. That's not a huge jump in profit, nor is it a good use of your time. Like I mentioned before, there's a few exceptions where big YouTubers will promote bulk purchases or finding really rare items that they find. But you have to realize that most of the time, these are actual liable businesses that have to make money for their employees and promote what they're doing through YouTube. It is literally marketing at the end of the day. They are showcasing why it should be cool for you to purchase things, and at the same time, they are promoting these ideas to you as a consumer. So just make sure you double check what messages you're getting from the certain types of people that you watch. The second point that I want to bring up is that you're always going to have a bottom 10% of your collection that you should be ready to part with. This is actually advice that my dad gave me. Like anybody else, he's collected cool niche things before, but ultimately he chooses to sell things over time because he'd rather experience other things, or they don't matter as much to him over time. For me, that applies in a similar way. I've collected certain things over the course of time, whether that's games, consoles, Legos even, and found that over time, I might value them more, or at a certain point, I just don't care. And I can use the part that I don't care about that much and sell it to make up for costs of something that now interests me, that is something new for me to experience. And I found that to be a really successful strategy as long as you do it correctly. Unlike the previous point where you're purely buying something with the intention to flip, I tend to purchase things with the intent to enjoy it. And then down the line, if I don't enjoy it, I can just sell it and put that money towards something that I think I'm going to enjoy as well. For example, this Blu-ray rack that I have next to me contains all of the PlayStation games that I own. But over time, if it gets filled up, I proactively choose to sell things to pay for new games that I can then slot into the Blu-ray rack. At around the same time last year, this rack was almost full, but if you see it now, there's actually more room than there was a year ago because I sold over 15 different games. This has really taught me to curate and appreciate what I've got, and if I don't really appreciate it, somebody else should own it instead of me. The third point that I want to bring up is the idea that you should stay away from being a collector. As mentioned before, a lot of these YouTubers that showcase their collections, explain why they own certain things and what they really like, they don't share the amount of consumerism that traps them in the lifestyle that they're living. I've been very proud to put a lot of money towards trips and hanging out with friends and spending money on good food over the course of the past year, instead of putting it towards a lot of video game stuff. Because at a certain point, there's that tipping point where it just kind of falls off. You're not doing anything for yourself if that's what you value. It also adds into a bigger question, like, does being a collector make you a better person? And you can challenge yourself with that question by asking the big ones, like, are you working the job you really want to do? Are you dating the person you really want to be dating? Are you living where you want to live? Stuff like that. And those are the big questions that actually push you out of those habits, rather than just calling the habits an addiction or a cool thing to do. You might not even realize your actual problems. And I think a lot of these YouTubers that do collect for the fun of it actually have these problems in real life. Thankfully, there's an easy way to fix this, and that is to sell off some of your stuff. Really just go back to the fact that you don't have to own everything in your collection, and you could even just use the bottom 10% of what you own to fund new things for your life. Isn't that like exciting? And the fourth point that I want to bring up is that you should appreciate what you already have. It's a pretty basic one, but a lot of people actually don't care about what they've already collected. They just care about completing it in its final form. If you're bored with your collection, or you just think about adding to it, maybe you don't actually value what you're buying. Because if you did, you would only be thinking about that thing you just bought. For me, when I purchase a new game, that's the only thing that's going in my system. That's the only thing I'm playing, or that's the only thing I'm checking out. I am really against the idea of buying a collection just to buy a collection and not touch it, or not play it, or not showcase it, stuff like that. It's just kind of weird to me. It's not that I'm correct. That's just how I see it. I try to get the most out of my games, specifically when it comes to stuff on PlayStation. If it makes sense, I'll go for the Platinum Trophy if I really enjoyed a video game. Or I'll even make a video reviewing it. Or I'll share it with my friends, or sell it to somebody so that they can try it out. I might buy the merchandise after, I might buy the collector's edition after, but it has to make an impact on me as a game, first and foremost. So since that first video that I released, what have I done in the past 10, 11 months to follow these ideas? Am I really following along with what I've been saying? Do I really care about how I curate my collection? Or am I just a hoarder and am I just buying a ton of stuff? And here's the truth. I actually have spent quite a bit of money on video game related items, whether that's actual video games, collector's editions, steel books, extras and goodies, you name it. I bought a bunch of stuff over the past 11 months, but I have followed the rules along the way, just as a simple guideline to live my life and not overthink video games. Like I mentioned before, I sold a lot of PlayStation 5 games in order to pay for some of the new experiences that I knew I would value more. In November of 2024, I purchased a PlayStation 5 Pro with the intentions of selling it for a PlayStation 6 down the line. I also recently purchased a PlayStation VR 2 at nearly a third of its retail price. And I'm glad I did, because I really wanted to experience the Resident Evil games that I love so much in the VR mode, and I love it. I was also able to secure a Switch 2 on launch day because I had pre-ordered it in advance, and I also made sure I got the maximum value for trade-in for my Switch OLED. I snagged the collector's edition for Titanfall 2, and I'm able to use this helmet for Halloween. And with the storage that I have in my basement, I secured a couple of PlayStation collector's items, including the entire line of the PlayStation 30th anniversary products, which I super duper love. And I also grabbed a 20th anniversary controller that was exclusive to Australia. Over the past year, I also grabbed 4 steelbooks for the collection, including the one for Tekken 8, which I really enjoyed, Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a solid story game from Rockstar. I've got Silent Hill 2's steelbook, which was exclusive to Spain and Europe. And I also grabbed the Shadow of the Colossus steelbook. I also ordered a couple of limited edition Astrobot magazines from the UK. And I also managed to snag 2 limited edition posters for the Final Fantasy crossover with Magic. And I just feel like I've improved in a lot of ways outside of just playing or talking about games. I'm more fit, I'm stronger than ever, I've traveled a lot more, I've met more friends than I can imagine. I think there's a lot of people that would benefit from this practice and using some of these rules in their daily life. So the main takeaway for this video is that you should just try to be more intentional about your hobbies. Even if you're hearing this message and you don't collect video games, I feel like the same concept applies to any type of hobby. You should just really value and respect what it is. You don't have to complicate it. You don't have to get steals and deals. You don't have to justify things. Just enjoy it for what it is and try to keep it simple. It'll open you up to more opportunities, and ultimately you'll probably appreciate it more the more simple it gets. At the end of the day, video games are meant to be an experience, not a physical asset that you collect and hoard over the course of time. I will continue to keep promoting this message and idea pretty much throughout the rest of this channel's existence because I just think it's helpful. I think it's something that clicks with people and that you're gonna personally take with you on your day-to-day life. It might change how you think about things. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and enjoy your day.